really. Hey everyone, sorry, I'm really sorry about what happened. Um, Hopefully we can get people back in. If you want a link, please let me know. I'll give you it. Just we're gonna try and be a bit more selective about who we let in. So um, yeah, so I'm going to share the watch link. I'm going to share the link with certain individuals. Please let the individuals know. Okay, so um, I think the last one would have done more harm than good. So let's put it that way. And I think that it's good that we have this one, which is quite clean of anybody trying to pump up their ego. I think. I don't think it's necessarily. It was anybody. It was anybody's. It was good. It was good for anybody, really. So yeah. Shake, I'm gonna give you the link to the new one. Uh, there you go. It was anybody. It was anybody's. Okay, so I'll give you Hangout Shake the link. If Matthew Bell comes in, I am going to. So yeah. What else is smart? Okay, hey Shake.
Hey man, how you doing?
Oh goodness me! You try to do something good, and then all hell breaks loose.
What happened? What's going on?
Oh, everyone else will tell you when to get here. Jade, I've sent you the link. Basically, what happened was that Matthew Bell came in.
Right.
Derailed the conversation, basically.
When are we gonna learn? When are we gonna learn? Seriously.
I don't know. I was trying to do something that is a mirror of views. It wasn't just basically people who agree with each other. It's going to be people who didn't necessarily agree with each other 100%. So that's why I tried to give it to Matthew and whoever else. So it's so
I mean, and like Richard Raspberry is trying to start a hangout because he found some article or something about an atheist that beat up a preacher. Right? So what is he trying to say? Okay, there's atheists can be assholes. Everybody can be, right-handed people can be assholes, so can left-handed people. What's your point? It's like, come on, dude. Let it go.
Let it be sure.
He's so out to try and stir things up for no reason.
I don't know. Anyway, Jade, how are you?
Oh, hang on. Got to engage microphone. Well, I'm doing a lot better now.
Good.
I'm sorry, Shake. What happened?
Yes. So, Shake, have you recovered from your parents? I saw that hangout.
Well, it's been a week, and to be honest with you, it took me until about Tuesday. Oh no, it's been more than a week. It's been a week and a day.
Wow.
It was my parents flew in from Detroit, and we just had it out, and then they left.
I have to admit that is kind of funny. It's not funny to you. It's not at all funny to you. My God,
no,
it's terrible.
Not. It's not really. It's not because it's abusive.
Yes, it is. You're right.
And my parents are trying. They're willing to convince themselves. They want to try and convince themselves that that they're good parents, but my dad needs counseling.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Right, and I tell him, and his response to me when I told him this time was, well, how do you know it's going to help? And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, you you son of a bitch.
Why don't you tell people what happened? Because I don't know if everybody here knows what happened.
Oh, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Really,
okay.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it.
I just was hoping you're okay. Yeah,
no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay.
It's stuff like that. It was with my therapist too. So who's not my therapist anymore because she finished a program, but we were able to process it.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, basically what happened was that I was trying to have a hangout that was more, had a wide coverage of views for Galaxy to have a look at, and it ended up with Matthew Bell taking over, basically, and a few of our cast got a bit cross with him.
Well, what is the purpose? What are you trying to provide for Galaxy?
Well, I want to provide her with a support thing, so if she wants, she can look at this hangout, and there's people that she can turn to. So if she wants to turn to me, she can turn to me. If she feels more of a female presence, she can turn to Jade or Shah.
Right. And I think it's good that you're a theist, and all you're doing is letting her know that you're there for her. I think with Matthew Bell and with G-Man, G-Man almost saw her as a piece of property, like something was taken away from him, and it's kind of messed up.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Matthew Bell's worse because he was basically saying that all of us were idiots, and
well, he doesn't like what's going that she's deconverted. I mean, it doesn't justify it, but that's probably. And you know what's hilarious is probably 9/10 of the people don't have an investment in what her final decision is or where she goes in the future as long as she's happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do care about her because, again, the thing is that she's asking these questions for a reason. And despite everything that was said in the previous hangout, which again I have put on private for you, Jade, if you want to copy it. But I am interested in what she thinks, and again, the purpose of this hangout is supposed to be to help her, or at least be a handout to her, as it were.
Okay, let me ask you this then, Gary. Just real quick, when you say you're concerned, that you care about what she thinks.
No, I don't care about what she thinks.
Say that again?
I don't care about what she thinks.
What do you care about?
What she does with it.
All right. So what are you relating this to? What her decision, whether she's going to be a theist or not?
No, I care about what kind of. If she's a theist, I care about what kind of theist she is. If she's going to be an atheist, I care about what kind of atheist. Again, if she's a good person, then what label she puts on top of that, I don't care. I just care that she knows that there are people out there who aren't going to judge her despite what label she puts on herself, whether that's Christian, atheist, deist, polytheist. To me it doesn't matter. I think that's the point that has been lost here is that.
Right, and one of the things that we talked about before when Gary, first proposed this was just if she had any questions. There are a lot of people who are more than willing to talk to her and ask any questions, and just to let her know that there are people out here. There are different versions of Christianity. There are different versions of theism, and as long as she finds her own way, that's great. That's what she's supposed to do. But there are people out here who are willing to talk to her, answer questions if she wants to know what Gary thinks, what my upbringing was like, what other different people on YouTube are, different Christians, different theists. That just there's a lot of information out there, and she's just to let her know that everybody here is willing to support her.
I can only say that when I was going through a hard time with my dog, that's what I got. Nobody told me what to feel. Nobody told me what to do. Everybody just said, if you need to talk, we're here. And that's
Yeah.
what I needed. And I think in certain circumstances like this, where somebody needs some space and at the same time they need support, that just letting her know that you're there. And we did that last night also. So she's getting a pretty consistent message.
Right.
Okay, but the thing is that I wanted to get her on personally because again, if she wanted to answer those questions, she could do. The thing is that she's not online for whatever reason. Again, but
Well,
the
the
thing
thing
is
is, Gary, I think if she talks to you, she's going to get more of an objective viewpoint
Mm.
than if she talks to Matthew Bell. He's so invested, or with G-Man, who is so invested that they seem to be more concerned with maintaining their beliefs than being available to help somebody.
yeah, I mean, well, the whole point of the Hangout is the point of it's not meant to demonstrate one person's point of view as being better or worse than the other. It's meant to represent that we all have, to some extent or the other, a reasonable position. And whether you... I mean, the thing is that we might disagree with each other very strongly sometimes, but at the end, we will still respect to each other as human beings. And I think that's the important thing that I was trying to get across, is that no matter what position she holds from, as long as she holds that specific truth, then that's fine.
Does anyone know if she was a churchgoer?
I don't know. Is the only answer.
I
Probably she probably went to some fundamentalist church.
because it's the biggest loss when you deconvert is the loss of your community and your friends. If she had a strong identity in her church and had a lot of church friends, she could have lost all that, and that's where the real hardship takes place, and that's what she needs to be supported on.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually.
Because I mean, she could be being rejected by all her friends and the community and so forth, and she could feel very alone and isolated.
Yeah,
Which
that's another reason that I did this as well. Is because that isolation can sometimes be a bit jarring. And the other thing that I wanted to do is to show you that, again, the fundamentalist, literalist understanding of the Bible isn't the only understanding of the Bible that's out there, and that there are numerous nuanced views to it that may be more intellectually sound than the ones she's used to.
Yeah, the version that she's used to, the fundamentalist version, is actually the minority version.
Yeah, I know. But if you're used to it, that's the majority version that you've been exposed to.
You're right, and I've talked to a lot of people. Sorry, Sharp, but let me briefly. I've talked to a lot of people who've come out of that background who didn't know there were any other points of view. Go ahead, Sharp. Sorry.
Yeah, and I kind of want to point out too that although, because obviously science shows us that some of the very literal views of the Bible are ridiculous. There are reasons that believing that the Bible is literally true, there are reasons for that. Because it makes your belief, like it makes it all pure. It's like all 100% correct. And that there's value to that too, even though it might seem ridiculous. I don't know that it's right to say that you can have a more moderate, a better form of Christianity. I'm not sure that you can place those values on different types of Christianity.
Why?
Well, the thing is that
You actually, Shar, are you saying that? Can I catch up?
Sorry.
Okay, are you saying that you shouldn't tell anybody anything? See, I think the point is that if she's questioning where she's at, then she's probably gonna benefit by at least being told that she has options.
Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I've heard a few people now basically make comments to say that there are more reasonable forms of Christianity, and I'm just saying that's a value
Right.
judgment.
That sort of place a value, a judgment on. Right.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
agree.
but the problem is that when you have a faith that's founded upon, I don't want to say ignorance, but when you've got a faith that's founded upon fear and hatred of yourself, then that is a bad faith, and it is
No, it's
as far
not.
as
It's not. It's
and it's
it's
as far as what you can get from Christ as it's possible to get.
It's
Okay.
I
only
know where you're
bad
coming
if
from, Gary. I
it's-
think it's just bad choice of
Yeah.
words there, if you'll excuse
Yeah.
the use of the word bad.
No,
It's
but
only bad if it's only bad if it's affecting a person negatively. I mean, I don't know. There might be people out there that are very comfortable in what we might consider ridiculous beliefs, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, but sure. And I agree with you. I agree with you. Value
Mhm.
judgments are rather dangerous things to play with.
Yeah.
But we do see a lot of people who talk about how terrified they were as children that they were going to go to
Absolutely.
hell because they did the least little wrong thing. They thought God would hate them. I mean, what a horrible way to raise a child, honestly.
It is.
To make a child think that God, the God that made them, the God that runs the universe, the God that is all powerful, hates them because they stole a lie, or they told a lie, or they stole a cookie or something like that, and that's where it starts to verge into child abuse, and that's where yeah, I think you can to some extent say that yes, there is a good Christianity and a bad Christianity.
But I think
Right.
on the other hand, you've got people who are like ex-junkies and ex-criminals who've become born again, and maybe they do need this very officious, not means, perhaps not the right word,
Yeah.
very type of God to
Well,
keep
I think-
them straight and narrow.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think that that type of God gives structure to their lives.
Yeah, I don't know if that's perhaps what Shah was getting at when she
Well,
said
I agree with Jade, but I think that the difference here is that Galaxydreams is an adult, right? And
Right, yes.
what an adult believes is, like what you teach a child, that can be abusive. But if you come to a conclusion on your own, it might be crazy, but if it's what you come to, it's what you came to.
Well, and with all apologies to my good friend Bob here, his version of Christianity and his belief system is way out there to me. But I believe he is very sincere. I like Bob. I'll say straight up, I like him.
I do too.
Even though he's accused me of, he's accused a lot of us of being demons from time to time. But that's okay. It's his opinion. But I believe he is very sincere, and I believe he really, really, truly does care about people. So his beliefs, that's fine. And he is not going out there, and he's made this clear, he does not go out there into the public and try to vote and try to change laws to, like oppress other people or anything like that. So, and, that's fine. Bob wants to go on again. I apologize, Bob. I know I shouldn't be talking about you since you're not here. But, if Bob wants to do his hangouts and talk about his beliefs and how strongly he feels, what he thinks is going to happen, that we're in the end times or whatever, no matter how far out I might think that is, that's right for Bob. He seems like he's a really happy guy. He's really funny. He's a wonderful musician. I believe he has a really good heart. And just because I don't agree with him doesn't mean that what he believes is wrong for him.
Yeah, Floyd, could you type just a little quieter? Sorry, darling.
but the thing is that
Sorry, darling.
is that I think the problem is that when you're used to a certain kind of faith, and that's all you've been presented with, maybe that's all you seem to think that the faith is. Like for example, I know certain. Again, Shaker, I'm sorry if I'm going to offend you, but I do know like certain Jews who grew up in like Orthodox, proper Orthodox, they wear the yarmulkes and they wear the hats and the everything from the New Old Testament is observed completely straight and all that sort of stuff. They keep to the Talmud, they keep to the Sunday, they hate to have that sort of thing. However, if you introduce them to a more liberal type of Jew, religious Jew, then they would probably freak out. Yeah, exactly.
Gary, I'd like to disagree with you on that one. Excuse me, I'm eating a piece of pizza. What you're talking about, for the most part, are the ultra-Orthodox or the Hasidim. And they're actually, excuse me, okay, I finally swallowed. They are actually very much in this world. They own lots of businesses. They interact with the public. And interestingly enough, in a lot of cases with the Hasids, the women are the ones who are out there owning a business, and the women are the ones who are out there getting advanced degrees, because the men stay home and study Torah. But yeah, there are some that are very isolated. There are even some towns in New York State. I think they're all in New York State. I'm not absolutely sure. That were formed by the Hasids so they could educate their children and make things easier. For instance, on the Sabbath, they have to walk to synagogue because you can't use a mechanical device. So the idea of building a town around the synagogue so everybody can walk to it is a really cool idea. And if you have the schools that are already teaching the way you want to teach, so that works out for them. But there are a lot of Hasids in New York and New Jersey and other places that interact with the public all the time. And their theology, their thought is surprisingly advanced. Sorry about that. Got to get that.
Yeah. I think there's people from all walks of life who don't really interact much with the general public, whether it's a personal choice or whether it's a religious upbringing they've had. Yeah. But I think from what I was saying in the other Hangout, that if Galaxy is watching, and from what I understand, she's had quite a fundamentalist background, and a lot of the people that she has interacted with on YouTube are more the fundy types. And it's my understanding she's now questioning some of the beliefs she's been brought up with, and she's also learning a lot more about science. And I could just say that you can accept scientific theories, you can accept evolution, the Big Bang, other things, and still be a Christian if you so choose, because the vast majority of denominations of Christianity, or the biggest, do accept these things. It's only biblical literalists, I believe, that have issues with them.
Okay, so we're going to hear from somebody we didn't really hear that much from in the Hangout, which was we're going to go Fiona and Shah, and then we'll go forward because he's not really said much.
Am I going first?
Yep.
I think I just reiterate the point about the fact that Christianity itself is a broad church. Mm-hmm. There are so many denominations out there with some very fundamental differences. What I would just like to mention here is something I didn't get a chance to touch on earlier. You all know that I am a scientist, and so
Are you a Christian scientist?
No, a Christian scientist.
She's a scientist who happens to be a Christian.
Sorry,
so
my bad.
It's been more along the lines of young Earth creationists who have found out about the age of the Earth themselves, or evolution, etc. And they have, when they've discovered this, what they have done is said, well, if they've been lying to me about this, what else have they lied about? And they've thrown out the entire faith on that one point, because they realised that the biblical account of young Earth creationism just didn't hold water. I've been involved in online debates on this sort of thing for 14 years, and that's by far the most common thing I've come across, but that may be the circles that I travel in. And I think if those people, and I mean quite a few of them said it themselves, if they have been aware at the time of the other denominations, they may not have left the faith. But they didn't have that information. All they knew was their own very strict YEK religion, and they didn't know that any other option existed. So therefore, if they had to throw out Yek, they had to throw out the lot. And I think that's why I've got involved in this one, because I think it is important to point out that the other options that are out there that don't rely on young earth creationism and end up tying themselves in knots over the original sin and the fallen state of man and explaining the fall through genetic and all the rest of it. The majority of Christians in the world don't hold to a Yek view. They don't hold to a literalist creationist view. They don't hold to a literal flood. And yet they can still have faith in Christ. And I think that's what's getting lost in the whole thing. The Christian, and the first part of that word is Christ. That's what it's about. Stuff, the ark, the stuff, the order of creation. In Genesis, either 1 or 2, depending on which one you fancy the most. All of that, it's all about Christ. And if you accept Christ, that's all that matters. You can differ on the non-essentials. But it's very difficult to go over the idea that, well, if they've lied to me about this, what else have they lied to me about? And I think that brings in a distrust in everything they've ever been told. And that's where I see a danger in young earth creationism, in that it is setting people up for that. But that's why I'm here. I just want anybody who's questioning their faith to know that there are other options out there. You don't have to just bin the whole thing. I mean, if you come to the conclusion that that's it, I just can't believe anymore, then I'll hold up my hands, fair play to you, you've come to your decision. But just to know that the other options are there, because if you don't know of those options, you're not going to look at them. And I think that's really what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I guess something to ask her is, did she have any comfort or find any happiness in her version of Christianity? You know, maybe she believed, but she believed out of fear or out of commitment or out of duty, but she really never got any joy out of it. And
that's something she would need to answer.
Yeah, and I guess that's something that, might have been a decision. If she found no real joy in it, no real satisfaction in it, just anything that any belief, in science or anything that would counter it, it would make it an easier decision to switch, because there's nothing left. It's like I held on to these beliefs out of fear, out of commitment, out of peer pressure, whatever. Now I don't hold that, and there's no joy in remaining there. So, the decision's even easier to make. You find no joy and happiness in following what you were told to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, the thing is, Floyd, is that people, again, it's not meant to be a joyful thing. Again, it's meant to be. It can be for some people, because again, it depends on your process and how you come to it. Because again, I can talk about my own conversion to Christianity, but it'd be again my own process and how I came to it. But again, I can't speak to somebody. Let's say, for example, let's talk about our old friend Bob again. He said that the way he converted was that he had a physical manifestation of Jesus Christ manifested it to him in a particular way. In that he was physically in the same room as him and his future-to-be wife. Now, again, I don't know whether that's true or not. Again, I'm not going to say here speculate. I'm just saying that there was joy in that he realized then that he was Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ was his. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, well, I know for 100% facts that that's the case. But again, that's how he manifested the fact to him. Now, it might be that the fact with Galaxydream is that the things that she's been taught so far, and people are presenting new things to her that she's not experienced before. Now, again, the problem is that if people are representing this false dichotomy nonsense, then that's the whole point of the Hangout, in my opinion. Is that you know, which I'm trying to do here is present it with a nuanced view from everybody's point of view, not necessarily from mine or Fiona's or Jade's or anybody else's, but from a balanced view of all of us together, because maybe somewhere in there the truth is. Because, again, not all of us know the truth, but maybe we've glimpsed it together, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and might I add that the truth for her is very likely different from the truth for all of us. What fits us, what we see as being true. And she should go for it. That's the important thing, to find her own way. And if any of us here, and even most people that we know in this great debate community, could help her in any way, we're willing. And if she has any questions, I mean, I know Fiona would talk to her about science and biology. I would talk to her about science and biology. And if there's stuff I didn't know, I'd send her to Fiona. So, we're more than happy to do that. And the National Center for Science Education here in the United States actually has a list on their website that shows the different denominations' positions on the theory of evolution. So, yeah, it's, as Dee said, if you look at the denominations themselves from that level, most Christians, think that evolution is fine. There's no problem with it. There's no conflict. And I've got to go back to St. Augustine, because I've been living with St. Augustine for 3 months. St. Augustine pointed out that he learned from 2 great books. One was the Bible, the other was nature. And there was no conflict between the two. There couldn't be any conflict between the two, because nature was of God, as was the Bible. And so if you think there's a conflict, he even said that if your interpretation of the Bible it conflicts with what you understand from nature. And they didn't use term science, by the way, back then. The term science didn't come into use until about the mid-19th century. But if your understanding of the Bible conflicts with what you see from nature, you need to take a better look at your interpretation of the Bible, because they can't conflict, since nature is of God. Of course, you also need to take a second look at your understanding of nature. So when someone comes around and says, well, we believe the flood exists, okay. If you want to believe in the Great Flood, that's a worldwide flood, it has to be like a sheer miracle that left no trace behind. Because everything we see from geology, physics, chemistry tells us there was no worldwide flood. Mm-hmm. So you have a choice to make. You either say, I'm like St. Augustine, okay, this is the evidence from nature, and it's solid. It all matches up. The chemistry matches the physics matches the geology. It all matches up. And say, well, okay, I need to take a second look at what the Bible says. Was this a worldwide flood? Was it a local flood? Or you can simply say, I'm sorry, I have to believe in the flood because that's the way I believe. And then just simply say, it's a sheer miracle. And we have no idea how it happened, and it left no trace whatsoever.
It's possible that it was a local flood, in my opinion. That's my interpretation of it, at least.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But anyway,
I disagree. I think the Bible clearly says it was worldwide.
People understood it to be worldwide because they considered the world to be limited to their geographic region.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. I mean, they didn't have a concept of a global Earth.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Right.
But still,
if
theologically,
the Bible says that it's worldwide and it's not worldwide, then there's a reason that the Bible should not be or should be questioned.
Say, I don't believe it says it's worldwide. In fact, words like "iret" could mean local, just like how the word Earth could refer to the planet or to just patches of the soil.
What is the word? What is the word?
I believe in the Hebrew it's "iret."
And that is global. That is world.
Well, again,
it's the land of.
Global's not a good word to
land.
use.
Well,
Global's not a good word to use.
I have actually talked to somebody who speaks Hebrew.
I
he's in
speak
Dutch-
Hebrew.
Really?
I speak Hebrew. Yes.
I consult a guy who speaks Hebrew as well. Yeah, it means land, and it could mean the whole earth and stuff like that.
Or
But again, you can't. Global's a bad word to use because they didn't have a concept then. But theologically, it was meant to wipe out all life, and you can't do that with.
But it is said, you guys. Eretz is always used representing all of the land.
But it's always used that way now, but was it then?
I'm pretty sure.
Language changes.
I mean, in the story it says
Hebrew has not changed very much at all.
Hang on, we're going to get popped down on.
Okay, yeah, everybody kind of.
Can I just, as I say, go back to something you said in the previous call we had? God, Jade. Sorry, I'm having a real brain fart with people's names today.
Okay.
In that.
Gotta stop doing that coke.
Actually, it's gin. Anyway, yeah, you were saying earlier, and I had a very similar experience to you in that I was not aware there were people who took the Bible literally. Everyone I've ever known that is a Christian in real life has thought it to be allegorical. So it almost doesn't matter whether it meant worldwide or locally or what have you. It's allegorical.
No, it doesn't. I agree with you.
I mean, if you're not taking it literally. Yeah.
But if you're gonna use words and define the words to be something incorrectly, because what they would say is Eretz, and then they would name the place to distinguish an area.
Quick point. Just because the Bible refers to all life doesn't necessarily mean that the flood itself happened over the whole of the earth, but rather could have been universal in a sense, or encapsulated all life.
If it's that allegorical, then why? And this is off subject, so I'm just going to I'll say this real quickly. If you're deciding that there's a part that's allegorical, there's no rule book that says, okay, this part is allegorical and this part is not allegorical. It's literal. Why is this even acceptable then? That's just my whole curiosity. If you want to say the Bible meant something other than what it says, this is the problem that so many people are having, that they can't they're in a system that doesn't distinguish the gray areas because they say it's God.
Right, but then you have to take the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And the Old Testament really is, from my upbringing and understanding, is the history of the Jews, including their culture, and that includes the poetry, the songs,
and not the history of the Jews.
It's the history of the ancient Jews.
There is no evidence for almost anything in the Old Testament.
That's actually not true, but let's not go into that.
It is very true.
Okay, what you're going to do? Can I just say this?
If I may, because we're talking over again like we had the last one, didn't we?
What you're trying to do is you're trying to set a standard for the Bible, for the Old Testament, that is higher than we have for other ancient documents.
Actually, it's not. I'm not. This is what I studied in college. This is what my master's degree is in.
Okay, but I've studied it as well. And the point I'm trying to make is, if you look at... I haven't
so you can respond, please.
I haven't studied the Bible so much specifically as I did ancient Greek culture. And what we know...
About Greek, though.
Yes, in a way we are. What we're talking about, Shay, patience. What we're talking about are ancient documents and the way that you weigh them and look at their authenticity. We can't prove that Socrates existed.
I don't claim that he existed, but Socrates also was not a supernatural entity claiming to be.
And I'm not claiming, and you do need to let people finish what they're saying.
Go ahead.
And I'm not claiming that the Bible is either. That's the point I'm making.
But then you can't say that it's accurate.
I didn't say it was accurate.
Yes.
Where did I say it was accurate?
Oh my
Shake, please
God.
let me go back.
It-
I'm saying it is, far as we know it, a history of the ancient Jews.
And it is
That
not. That's the point.
Shake,
There's no 12 tribes of Israel. There was no
I
12.
didn't say there were. Shake, you're mistaking.
I understand what you're trying to say, and I just disagree with it.
You've got to let me finish.
So let's finish, Shake,
And then you can say whatever you want. As I said, it's a history. It's not a perfect history. It's an incomplete history, just like any other ancient document. It's a collection of bits and pieces of things that relate to, how about if I put it this way, that relate to the history of the ancient Jews. And it includes poetry, it includes songs, it includes a genealogy, which may or may not be correct. It includes legends, it includes parables, it includes laws.
Could we put it on the level of
the Old Testament is a mythology.
I'm sorry, guys, but this is going the same way as the last one.
Yeah,
All right, don't worry.
It's
Shake,
absolutely
you have to
horrendous.
stop.
Fine,
I'm
that's fine.
out. Good night.
You see, Shake, thank you very much. You've caused Fiona to leave because
Okay.
you can't wait. You can't let me finish. You can't wait. You can't have any patience, and to let me finish. And yes, it is it's a collection of ancient documents that refer to the history of the ancient Jews. Nowhere am I saying it's entirely accurate. Nowhere am I saying that God speaks through these documents.
He's
Okay.
gone there anyway, so.
Okay, so that's fine. I understand what he's saying, but he's not addressing what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, what I was trying to say is that it's not literal. I was trying to explain why it isn't to be taken literally, but he kept jumping in the middle and saying, but it's not accurate. There's no God. Yes, you're absolutely right. It is a and one thing he did do is help me make it clear in the future that rather than say it's a history of the ancient Jews, I should say it's a collection of documents that refer to the history of the ancient Jews.
Good point.
And that I think is a very good point, and I want to thank him for that, because that's a much better way of putting it. But it does include poetry, it includes songs, it includes a genealogy as they knew it, which, again, I'm not saying it's accurate. It includes parables, it includes some apocryphal things, it includes the laws that they kept at the time, or it includes these things as they have come down to us. Now, one time it was thought that these documents came from, or at least the written version, because it was oral tradition for a long time. The written version, I believe, comes from 700 to 800 BC. There is some indication now that it's actually older than that, but let's stick with 700, 800 BC. Yet the things that are happening, someone here can probably correct me on this, because I'm dyslexic, and one thing I have a problem with is getting numbers straight, which is interesting because I used to make a living as a math tutor. I'm fine with algebra and calculus, just don't ask me to add, subtract, and multiply. But so clearly there was an oral tradition going on a long time before anything was written down. And so the things that were written down undoubtedly have inaccuracies in them, just like any other ancient document. Sorry to go on, I just had to kind of finish what I was trying to say. But I'm nowhere am I saying it's literal. Thank you, sorry.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
By the way, I'm still of the opinion that it can be interpreted locally. Just saying, I think Josephus also interpreted locally too. But
well, again, if you want to get to the New Testament, that's sort of like when you start to get into my ballpark, because like I've taken atheists and theists to task over their use of the New Testament, so because I refer you to what I did to Raoul as evidence of what I.
Sorry.
But I think the problem is that if you've been taught this all or nothing approach, then again you can't have a nuanced view of either testament, and that's a problem, because again you can't come to, let's say for example, Revelation with the same sort of understanding that you're going to need to approach Psalms with or whatever.
Exactly.
Because they're different types of writing and they're different they've got different goals in mind.
Hey,
It's like trying to compare Shakespeare with Chaucer, or try to compare, I don't know, Hawking with Krauss. Again, they're two different people who try to do two different things.
quick question. When is Galaxy coming in here? Galaxydream.
I'm hoping to try and get her in, but again, she's not. I've sent her messages on all formats, but again, I'm not trying to force her in. So.
Where the hell was my invitation? I remember the promo. You said I was a smart guy, and I was like, yes, I'm so in.
No, I don't know where you. I don't know. I don't have to on Google Plus, so I couldn't invite you.
Oh, right. Sorry, we really should.
I don't have you on Skype either. Otherwise, I would, Well, I'll tell you what. Skype.
There, I am now your acquaintance. Don't worry, I'm acquaintances with everybody.
Oh, okay, no problem. I won't take it personally.
So, and surely anyone can correct me if I'm wrong here. My experience, having discovered that there are Bible literalists and fundy Christians, and I know that's a misnomer because fundamentals just means basics, but we all know.
Yes.
I assume we all know what I mean when I say a fundy Christian. I'm often puzzled that they seem to repeatedly quote from the Old Testament, because the way I was brought up is that, Christian followers of Christ, the New Testament is Christ, not the Old Testament. Now, I'm not saying you have to disregard, well, I personally would disregard the Old Testament, that's a personal thing. I don't understand this obsession certain Christians seem to have with the Old Testament.
It's because it justifies their homophobia.
It's all the Word of God.
Here's how I usually use how I take the Bible. You couldn't get me just to believe in the Old Testament alone because, yes, as you said, I'm a follower of Jesus. However, when it comes to understanding the Bible as a whole, I take a Christocentric approach or a Christological approach. Basically, like Origen, a lot of fathers, Ambrose to Augustine, and especially Origen, but I wouldn't go that far in my interpretation. Basically, the point of the Bible, all of it, from Genesis to Revelation, was to show off who Christ was. Even if it doesn't mention Christ, he is God and it reveals parts of him throughout the beginning of it. And that's basically the interpretation that I seek. So when I understand the Bible, I kind of see it in two lines. There's the horizontal and the vertical. The horizontal is how it's put. The horizontal is basically how the whole thing comes together. That comes through critical study, analysis of the document, analysis of the language, also the contemporary understanding at the time it was written, that sort of thing. However, in terms of how I understand it inerrantly, it's the Bible as a whole is Christocentric in terms of it revealing Christ. So in the vertical aspect, when I try to get interpretation of who God is and how the Bible applies to the church today, and how as a Catholic, how the Catholic Church takes it, it's inerrant insofar as it reveals the doctrines of the church. That's how I specifically understand the Bible.
I was actually going to ask you, Epi. I know this is going to be a bit out of the blue, and it's a bit off topic a little bit, but it's relevant. I'm going to try and do. We started, but we didn't finish doing a diegesis of the Book of Matthew. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and get started a diegesis of the writings of Paul, and I'd love for you, Jade, or whoever wants to participate in it, to be in it, because again, I don't want it just to be me reading Bible passages and telling people what I think, because again, that's going to get really done really fast.
Which book are we reading from?
I'm personally reading for King James, but you can read whatever translation.
Oh no! I mean, in terms of what part of the Bible are we reading?
We're reading all the letters of Paul. So we're going from just a bit. We're going from.
If you're gonna read from Paul, I think you should start with Galatians.
Well, we're starting from Romans because that's first.
I recommend Galatians because that's kind of like that's considered like the first letter.
Yeah, I know it is, but we're going for Romans because it's the first chronologically, and it's probably. But I don't mind starting from Galatians because that's an interesting one as well. But Galatians isn't really that long. I thought about doing that.
I would like to say that Shar and I were part of the earlier group that was going through Matthew, and it was really great because you had a lot of different points of view, from people's background and their beliefs, and it was great. So I'm in if we do it again.
Sweet.
I'd also briefly like to apologize to Shake. I think I overreacted a bit. I'm so used to certain people in YouTube saying that trying to hold the ancient documents of the Bible up to a higher standard than other ancient documents. And so the minute Shake said, like we're saying, no, you're wrong, I think I kind of went into overdrive a little bit, and I'd like to apologize to Shake for that.
It's
Did he
fine.
press a button, darling?
It was getting a bit. It was sometimes these things have a tendency to get hidden. So we're going on Galatians or Romans.
I was thinking about going for Romans because it's the first. So if
Okay.
you want to do Galatians, it's up to you guys. Again, whichever one do you think we should do first?
I'm down for Romans.
Okay, then fair enough. We'll go for Romans then.
Cool.
Jade, are you in?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself there. Yeah, I'm in. Did you guys hear what I said before when I was apologizing to Shake?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to do that publicly because I did overreact, and I apologize, Shake, if you're out there. I should have just let you speak and then come back. That was my fault.
Okay, cool.
I'm kind of skeptical when it comes to when we say we should take something allegorically. What does that mean? Unless you can try to, say what you get out of it allegorically, it seems like you're just saying, oh, well, ignore the detail. Don't worry. Don't think about it too much.
No, it's not saying.
No,
I could tell you how I think about it allegorically.
Like take the flood, for example. I hear people describe, oh, the flood is symbolizes baptism. I think that's crazy. I think that's nuts. People describe it to me.
Water was a cleansing agent of the ancient world, so there is backing for that.
Yeah.
I could take an example from a Greek myth. There's a Greek myth that the reason why winter comes about is that Hades takes Persephone down to Hades, to the underworld. And because of that, Demeter, who is the goddess of agriculture, lets all the vegetation die. And then when spring comes, Persephone is released from the underworld back to Demeter, and Demeter gets all happy, and so all the vegetation springs up again. Now, you can take that allegorically, but the story itself does not work. You know why? Because it assumes a flat Earth, where it's winter in Greece, it's summer in Australia. So what can you do with that story with our modern cosmology? Nothing. I think the story is worthless.
Well, I think it's a bit disanalogous because as Christians we read into it our sacraments and the figure of Christ himself. So I think we do have a utility for it. So I think your example is disanalogous.
Well, if you can explain how baptism is symbolic in the flood, I'm very curious to.
Because in the flood scenario, God is angry at people for their sins, and He floods the world with water, and then when the world comes back about, it's clean again. It's been reborn. In the same way that a Christian goes into baptism with sin, he comes out a new being in the covenant of God. Remember, in the story, Noah comes into a new covenant, and God makes him a sign. In the same way, when Christians come into the new covenant, we're born in water and come back out, and we're giving the sign of chrismation. So yeah, I do think it does hold validity in that.
Well, Noah and his family was not baptized. Everyone who died was baptized.
Baptism wasn't a thing done then.
The baptism was of the earth.
Well, again, which Noah wasn't a part of. He was isolated in an ark.
No, but he wrote.
No, it's not about the people. It's about the land itself. The land was reborn.
The land was cleansed.
Going back to what you're saying earlier, if you're doing your Bible study groups, are they quite casual groups?
I don't know. I mean, I'd advise that you watch them because I do have the.
Well, I was just wondering if they're kind of casual and not This is what
we
it
have it.
says.
Right now
Perhaps
we have
it's something Galaxy might enjoy coming to.
Well, I don't know how you describe them, because again, we try and present the views of the people involved. So last time it was me, Jade, Brian, Shah, Ritz's Gate, and I think that was and Christian, sorry, IG. He was.
Yeah.
So it's a myriad of views from those people.
That's why I thought that, because
Yeah.
I know other people that have Bible groups are basically people like Raw and his friends who have very much the same interpretation for one, So I was wondering, and I have no idea whether Galaxy would be the remotest bit interested or not. But if you've got this very eclectic group of people discussing it, might be something that she could find interesting.
It's certainly not an echo chamber.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not.
what I meant. Yeah.
And it was fun, wasn't it, Shar?
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. Because she didn't agree with everything we said. She was asking questions, quite honestly, and I was doing my best to answer. But again, the thing is that if we do with Paul, I've got to try and get my Paul glasses on, because the thing is that
You don't like him, do you? Well, that's a bad turn of phrase. Sorry, I didn't mean it quite how that may have sounded.
that I've got to deal with the way that fundies use him.
Oh, right,
Basically,
yeah.
I've got to understand the way they do use him and how they misuse him. So that's going to be a little bit of why I'm doing it as well.
Yeah.
I would like to point out, just for the entertainment value, that one of the nuns that taught me in high school used to always introduce our discussions on Paul with that old misogynist Paul. That's how she referred to it, which used to make me laugh no end. But yeah, so you can have different points of view, and you can still take it seriously. It was atheists and theists and us undisclosed, so it was a really good mix of people, and we had really good discussions without people yelling or screaming and really coming to understandings of different points of view. I learned a lot from Shar and Rictus. I really did, because they both had religious backgrounds that were very different from anything I knew. So I think that was really great. I think you might enjoy it, if you and you could come and not even say anything. You could just come and listen if you wanted to sometime. Because Gary tried to set them early enough that because Brian was in there, and so I think it's very worthwhile. And
I just thought it might be something that you could perhaps
Galaxy might like
extend and then invite to Galaxy, see if she's interested.
Yeah, you don't have to believe. You don't have to be a Christian to do it. You don't have to believe that.
Oh, did we just lose Becky then?
No, I think she's just might well have caught.
Oh, right. So that's what I meant. Well, I didn't mean Well, that's my point. Is if you've got this eclectic group, for want of a better term, of people with very differing views, different opinions, if Galaxy is questioning her own personal beliefs, the way she was, try to avoid the word indoctrinated, brought up, that could be an interesting group, or something of that ilk could be interesting for her to be listening to different points of view, different interpretations, different acceptances and beliefs.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, if anybody wants a link to the because we did the 4 chapters of Matthew, we didn't go any further for some reason. If people want links to that, I'll give it them. If people want to watch what we did, I mean, Epi, do you want a link to that?
To what?
The playlists of the 4 hangouts we did. Well, 3 hangouts.
Wouldn't mind it.
Can we call you something other than Epi? Because every time it says Epi, I think of the word epidural.
Oh.
Sorry, I know. It's like every time he says epi, I have this. Well, the other thing is the injection you have if you're having anaphylactic shock.
You can call me EAG. That's just the abbreviation.
EAG. Can you call it Epic? We'll call you Epic.
Epic is fine too. I like Epic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. It's just every time it says Epic, it
sounds epical.
Epic, yeah. Sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to derail there. But yeah, I think that could be something, if she's interested, that perhaps she'd like to partake in. Even if she only listens, to hear.
One thing that, and it actually goes back a little bit to Dee's question from a while back, but part of the reason I think that some people refer to the Old Testament when they're talking about Scripture is because that's how it's presented to you in church.
Mm.
And I mean, I was never encouraged to pick up the Bible and start reading from Genesis 1:1 and then just keep going. I was always given devotional books, and you'd read a passage, and then it would give you all these other verses that relate to it that are all over the Bible and that sort of thing. So, I mean, that's just another answer to your question. Is that's why, because that's how you're taught it. But but the thing that always got to me was that when I was a kid, you know, I was given this book and I was told this is the Word of God, then that book automatically was special to me because it was different from any other book. And then when you start to analyze it and realize that it's probably just written by men, it lost its specialness to me. And a part of that is just because I don't enjoy reading it, right? I mean, there are books I enjoy reading more that say more to me, speak more to me.
Well, I'll be honest, there are a lot of books in the Bible I just like reading. My least favorite is Numbers because it's literally just a work. No, the reason why it's Numbers is because it's mostly a chronology of stuff they had, possessions, things, cattle, things of this nature. So to me, it's a pretty boring inventory book. And
genealogies are terrible too.
But there are others I really love. I really like Ecclesiastes. That book is just special to me. The Gospel of John is my favorite of the whole Bible. And Revelation.
I don't like John. Really? And see, that's interesting. I don't like John. I like Matthew, I think, or maybe Luke.
That's the sermon. I just like John because it has all these great allusions to Greek philosophy that I really enjoy. Plus, the Book of Revelations is just magical when you read it. I thought it was when I was young, I always thought it was some futuristic prophecy, when most of it was just describing stuff that happened at the time in this very kind of encoded detail.
Really actually, I like Acts myself. Again, this is one of the reasons that I defended it to Raoul so much, is that I actually like the Book of Acts. and I actually like Paul's writings. Here's the thing: is that as much as Jade was saying that he is a little bit of a sexist, he was still somebody who's a very godly man.
Actually, here's the thing: didn't he have in his ministry female apostles and a female bishop, Phoebe?
Yeah.
Yes. At the time, one of the reasons that he is thought of as a misogynist is that at the time there were women who headed up a lot of different Christian communities at that time, and the way I was taught is that, of course, I don't know what the current attitude toward this is, because things do change and people do research and all that. But one of the reasons he was talking to the women and was basically he was telling them to shut up and let the men speak, because you're ruling everything. You're running over everything. You've got to let the men speak too.
Because churches were held in households, and the thing the thing was because they were headed in households, they were the woman's household. They ran the thing, and Paul was seeing a imbalance of power on that way. But I've always actually held those verses to be interpolations because they sound very. They sound like they come from one of his opponents who upheld the law, as opposed to someone in Paul's party who was mostly about everyone is made equal in Christ and men and women should submit to one another as Christ has to you, something along these lines. I'm really blanking on that verse, but I honestly think that those verses, the ones where he says women must remain silent, are just interpolations. I don't think they have historical validity. At least when it comes to the text.
I think all Paul's letters, even the so-called genuine ones, are patchwork quilts. They're put together. I mean, Marcion could have written half of those letters.
No, he couldn't have. But because he was only about 12 when Paul was alive. But again, we won't get into that because
that assumes that Paul even wrote it.
Paul did write them, but again, we won't get into that.
Let's not get into it. I think there are some questions as to whether they were all written by.
No. Hebrews is
No. Even the most critical scholars will say that at least 6 of them were written by Paul.
What was Galatians?
Corinthians.
Hebrews
Romans.
Peter wasn't. But again, but yeah, at least the most famous ones are. But
You know, fundamentalism, like the real fundiness, really it fixes all these problems, because if you believe that the Word of God, like the Bible, is literally the Word of God, every word written was inspired by Him, it doesn't matter who wrote what.
True.
God wrote it. I'm just saying, like,
point,
I'm
yeah.
just saying that sometimes looking back, fundamentalism makes more sense to me than some of the stuff I hear now.
It puts everything in black and white. Makes very
It
black and white.
does. It
But
makes
here's
it
the-
easy.
But it's
But here's the
not
interesting
black
thing
and
about
white.
critical. But here's the thing about early critical Christian scholarship, especially done by it was done originally by very religious men. There were Calvinists who were getting into it. There were thinkers like Erasmus. The main gist of it was they wanted to make sure that they had the Word of God accurately, and the reason why they did this was because they wanted to know which stuff was the stuff to be obeyed and which is just interpolation. They were just being sure that they had the actual stuff. And through critical scholarship, a lot of stuff has been kept, some stuff has been removed. One of my favorites that I was very saddened to see wasn't part of the original text was the one where a woman is being stoned and Jesus says, Jesus intervenes and says, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." That was one of my favorites. Unfortunately, a lot of contemporary biblical scholarship doesn't support it. I'd like to think it's true and inspired because maybe it's an oral tradition that came later in the text, but not sure.
Interesting.
I guess
there were some schools that said that it was put in, taken out, and put back in again.
that's
I have read those schools.
Yeah, it was in a manuscript of Luke, but it ended up in John.
that's funny.
And that has been said that it was taken out of one and put into the other. That's what I've heard. But again, there's people like. But anyway, if you're going to
Take care, Floyd.
it's nice to speak to you, mate.
Mm.
So yeah, if you're up for it, we're more happy to have you. Again, the thing is that I don't want an echo chamber, and I think that's the thing that sometimes these Bible studies could turn into.
Wait,
Is
here's-
that
Oh, no worries. Oh, by the way, I was suggesting for Galaxy next time if we do have a hangout for her next time, I was just hoping maybe if we're going to have a mix of atheists and Christians, we could ask her to come in and direct one question she might have a problem with to the Christian side and one to the atheist side, so we'd each take turns giving answers.
I might also suggest
She's up for that.
that we, talk to her ahead of time and see if there's any particular people she wants to talk to.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Because she's getting a lot of crap. I think this is part of why this was done, although Gary and I didn't specifically talk about this. And she's getting a lot of crap from some people. And this should be a crap-free zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she might, again, when we did when we went through Matthew before, it was public. There were hangouts that were public, so people could see them. So we could put them out there when we go through Paul, and people don't have to join in the hangout, but if they watch it and they decide they like it, they could ask if they want to join. That's another possibility too for Galaxy, as long as you don't have someone running over everybody else. And we really had a good group going, and I hope IG can come back again. I don't know what his work hours are now, but
yeah, I didn't realise they
maybe-
were public till Fanny just posted the
yeah.
links. And
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, I didn't realise. Sorry, go on.
It might be cool to get Lasoyo in too. I don't know, because he's he's a stay-at-home dad now, so he might be able to make them. And I don't know about Rational Roundtable, but there's lots of different points of view. I love, I really haven't had a great chance to talk to them a lot, but I love talking to Lasoyo and Rational Roundtable because they both challenge me on what I think, and and they're always a good, good people too. They're intelligent, articulate, sensible individuals. And don't tell them I said that because I don't want them to get swelled heads. But. But they're always a good mix to other people, So.
well, to be honest with you, the thing that I took away from our last Bible studies was just like, just listening to the things that Shah was like asking, is like thinking, like seriously, this is the sort of stuff that you were taught. It's like this is like textual criticism 101 here. I was like, I thought I'll also go get my textual criticism books on this stuff.
Right.
Because
right. And one of the things too we talked about, Gary, that I think is good to bring up again when we start again, is that there are a lot of people who don't understand why you even need to be to do textual. I can't talk. Criticism. I caught it from you, D. It's your fault.
Sorry.
Because there are people who really believe that the Bible is as it is, and many of them believe that the King James Version was ordained by God. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say many, just I've run into quite a few.
Well,
And they don't understand why you need to look into it at all. But that's part of what I said in the previous Hangout, part of the doing the work part, that you're supposed to look into things and investigate. And whether you're a theist or an atheist, that's sort of part of our mandate is being a human, and to investigate things. And that it shouldn't be easy. Why should it be easy? You know, if there is a God, if there's a great God of the universe ever, why should God hand us the answer on a silver platter? Isn't that really arrogant to think that it should be that way? That we shouldn't do any work in trying to figure out this world? You know, if that were so, there shouldn't be any disease, because God should have handed us antibiotics. So it's I get a little off track, but yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Some people are like, Edward, I can't believe you actually, or Effie, I can't imagine you have to do all this work in order to maintain your faith. You have to keep going to all these resources and whatnot. You would think if God was actually in charge of all this, he would have provided you an easy way to go about this. However, I'm like, no, I actually like doing all this research and knowing all this crap. It's fun. I get to research ancient books, read church fathers, look into different forms of systematic theology.
I guess the thing that confuses me though is that you enjoy it.
Oh,
I do it as well.
Yeah, no, that's all fine. Like I think it's cool that you enjoy it. What I'm saying is you enjoy it. I don't.
I don't know where you're coming from.
Yeah, so here's the thing though. Like if you enjoy it, that's great, and I totally agree, Jade. Like why should he make it easy? But we are talking about people's eternal souls.
Yeah, but okay.
And so like
that's the point I make to Bob. Universe first time to do something that Christ did teach, and despite his protestation to the contrary, he still does teach that.
You can't. There are positions in Christianity that don't focus on an eternal version of hell. Even Catholics like Hans Urs von Balthasar even insists that God can't. It is within the hope of mankind that all will be saved, and that's a reasonable hope someone could have. It's not. You can't say, for example, oh, everyone's going to be saved, because that really does interfere with the notion of free will, or a notion of someone who could, in theory, reject God. And I frankly agree with that. I believe that it's hopeful that all can be saved, and I really hope that is the case, but it's not something that should be considered guaranteed, and I also acknowledge that because I don't want to think that it's always just going to be easy from here on out. And there are annihilationist positions, there's universalist positions, there are Calvinists who are pretty easy about this because they believe that God's just going to let those who want to come anyway. I actually have a slight push towards this notion of election, not fully yet. I'm still trying to work that much out, but it's not as easy as just saying it's everybody's eternal souls at hand. It's not something I have a hard time coping with, from my perspective at least. I just know God's going to. It's in God's hands, and He knows how to deal with this.
Right, and can I add to this? And again, I can't. Sorry, I've been so obsessed.
No way.
Going back to St. Augustine again. Spend 3 months with St. Augustine, you get a little obsessed. St. Augustine first rejected Christianity, even though his mother was a devout Christian, because he didn't see the intellectual side of it. And he later came to find that. And as a matter of fact, he laid the foundations in many ways for the future of Christianity. But his mother, Monica, had a very simple faith in comparison. And he kind of didn't really understand that, because to him it was intellectual. And I understand that point of view, because to me everything's intellectual. That's just the way my mind works. But St. Augustine, that there's more than one way. It's all right to have a simple faith, like his mother Monica. And it's all right to have the complex, the intellectually challenging faith, like he did. And we shouldn't dismiss either one, whatever path it takes them to. It basically, you should just do the very best that you can. And as I pointed out, and I'm going to repeat this again, and sorry for those of you who saw it, when I went to Catholic high school. And when I was in high school, one of the nuns in remember junior year pointed out the sort of I'm not really putting the term right, but kind of the highest law of the Catholic Church is that of the educated conscience, which means, one, you must educate yourself, and about everything, not just about religion. You're supposed to educate yourself about everything. The other is the conscience part, which basically means you need to think about what it is and make conscious decisions about that. And one of the girls in our class said, so sister, does that mean that my educated conscience tells me I should be a Baptist? I should be a Baptist? She said, yes, you're right. However, you better be right. And as I've said before, what she meant by that, and we all started laughing, what she meant by that is not that you're going to go to hell if you're wrong, but you have to make the decision, again, to the best of your ability, not because the Baptists have really cool picnics. And that's what we're supposed to be doing as human beings, is what I was taught is called doing the work, educating oneself, thinking, talking to others, and that if there is a God, if there is this great God that created all of us, this God understands that we're, fallible human beings. We screw up all the time. We have trouble understanding things, and that we will be judged by how well we do the work, how much effort we put into it, how much we think. And that's going to vary from person to person. Some people have a simple faith. Some people have a simple lack of faith. And that's how people will be looked at. Again, assuming that there is this God. So, yeah, I understand the point of view of people who say, this is way too much work, I can't do it. Nobody says you have to. You have to do it to the very best of your ability. And if that just means making the best moral decisions you make every day, that's fine.
I think that's fine. Again, the problem is that, like, I think that mine and Epi's positions are pretty close to each other. He's probably more philosophically sound than I am. But I try and be more textual criticism side of things.
Mine is more systematic theology. That's the stuff I kind of prefer. Although looking into scripture definitely is something I can't overlook.
Okay. Well, I do go. I would refer you to the video I did to Atheism Defended, Demented, whatever his name is. Sorry, it comes up, sorry. And the videos I did to him about the Book of Acts. Because I think I more or less destroyed his position.
Well, he doesn't even have a position, so...
Well, no, his position was...
Sorry, let's not get...
It contains creatures that I don't think exist.
And I would like to say, in all ego, Gary and I did a wonderful hangout about that.
I invited Raoul along to defend his position, and he didn't do it. So atheists are not defended by that definition. Because, like, as I said, I went over what the Book of Acts is and what it isn't. And none of the things he said in that book actually read up with any sort of scholarship. And then when he didn't mention some scholarship, he got it wrong.
I pretty much ignored him as best as possible.
Right.
Guy's an idiot.
Well, I even looked up a history of that. I mean, he said really incredibly stupid things, like the one that I loved so much was that, well, the Book of Acts couldn't be accurate because they didn't give you an exact itinerary of which ship they took, what time they took the ship, and where it landed. And that was pretty damn funny, especially since I actually looked up a history of that time period of travel. I actually found a master's thesis that covered what travel was like during that time period. And, basically people went down to the docks and they took whatever ship was available. So that's a really strange criticism to make. It's not like they had a schedule like you do today. Oh, we're going to take the 4 o'clock ship to Cyprus. Sorry, it wasn't quite like that. Yeah, the Roman roads were wonderful, but the shipping kind of went with whatever was available at the time. Kind of reminds me of okay, I can't resist Firefly, Serenity, You remember when they're down there, they're trying to get people to come on their trip. Hey, come take us. Oh, I do too. I love them. They're there. Hey, come take our ship. We're about ready to leave. You got all these people try to grab people in to take their ship, and the criticisms he made were unbelievably freaking stupid. As I said, Gary, you want to look that up? If the Hangout, we did a good one, in which both of us.
I think it's on your channel.
Was it on my channel? I'll look it up. This is kind of one of the reasons, again, I want to apologize to Shake again, that I get a little touchy about some of the things that people say, because, it doesn't make any difference whether you believe that the New Testament is true or not, but to dismiss it, oh crap, can't talk today. To dismiss it as not being a historical document and not being reliable at all is in a similar sense to dismiss every historical document of that time. And this idea that certain people hold it up to a higher standard is just absurd. Even if you don't believe that Jesus was real, you don't believe in Christianity, you're an anti-theist or whatever, you still have to hold those documents up to the same standard as other documents of the time. Hi, Nadia.
Hey, Nadia.
Hi there.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I've killed conversation.
Sorry. I was going to say...
Sorry about that. I mean, I know I do that sometimes. I just go off and I don't shut the bleep up. So, and by the way, for those of you who don't know me very well, I do that, and my mind works at 1,000 miles a minute, and I have trouble keeping up verbally. So apparently, I try to, and I do not take it ill if you simply tell me to shut up, because I know I do this, and I think my friends here on YouTube are often too polite to simply say, Jade, shut up.
Jade, in comparison to Matthew Bell, you are the humblest of field mice.
I would like to point out I'm a turkey cat.
What?
All right, you're the humblest of turkey cats then.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. There are 2 Brits and a Canadian in here, so you will have to rely on the other Americans to tell you to shut up.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. You're too polite, honestly, folks. Okay. Does this help? I'm Irish.
Shut up.
So just. I knew that would work.
I'm joking.
I know. I knew. I gave you an open line there. I love that. And if that doesn't do it, I'm only half Irish. The other half is German. So.
Oh, definitely. Shush.
Shut up. Yeah.
Shush.
Okay.
No, it's not good.
I'm gonna be on my way, guys. Nice hanging out.
Okay, I was just going to ask people if anyone has Galaxydreams on their Skype or whatever, and she's online, just tell her that we're still doing this. Basically for her. So.
Okay. I would like to say I don't like to talk about stuff that goes on Skype, that goes on stuff in here, but I did Skype her and she Skyped me back. And all I will say is she just got back from a 7-hour trip.
Oh gosh.
So, and she basically appreciates everybody's concern. That's all I can say. But again, I don't like to talk out of,
No, it's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, but I thought it was just let you know.
Just tell Jade that if she wants to talk to me properly, that if she wants to make it if she wants to make it private or whatever, I'm willing to do that.
Right. Okay. I will. And I'm sure she'll probably get back to you. I mean, if I'd gotten back from a 7-hour trip, I probably wouldn't have even responded. And I think that was really nice of her to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'd have probably been too exhausted to even, what do these people want? That would have been me. That would have been me.
Yeah.
Just to show you what a really, and I've watched her in Hangouts before, and she's a really genuinely nice person. And I think it's just responding to me after a 7-hour trip kind of shows you exactly what kind of a person she is.
Is she Canadian?
I'd have been telling everybody to fuck off.
Is she Canadian?
I don't know, but perhaps.
I'm sorry. I'm just stereotyping
you're right.
nationalities.
Perhaps in spirit. Perhaps in spirit.
Hey, D, shut
Yeah.
up.
Well, Dee,
For those of
there's
you
a
who don't know,
forum on Canadian.
I'm one of these wishy-washy, touchy-feely Californians. So
Yeah, but Dee, there's a forum your Canadian. Canadian niceness.
Yeah, I know some people from Canada who aren't so nice.
Yeah, Ran.
I wasn't mentioning any names.
Well, well. I'm not
We're
going
not
to.
so different. We're
not-
bombarded
yeah.
with American TV and American news.
I
People
knew
tell
it was
you,
the Americans' fault somehow. It's inevitable,
Canada,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, Richters, or it's just people like random verified acts. So what does that mean?
I am just surprised, Shar, that you
Yeah.
guys have managed to hold off this far. That we haven't corrupted you even more. I think that shows the strength of the Canadian character. Seriously, in general. Mind you, there are exceptions.
Perhaps Rand's not a true Canadian.
Hey, but I'll say that. I'll say to get right with God, you stupid bitch. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm too nice. I can't do it.
No, I just.
Well, you know what Rand does. In all fairness, a lot of it's a put-on act. He likes to be the Archie Bunker character. I don't think he really understands how off-putting that is and how incredibly homophobic he is. I really think that, I mean, if I were to meet Rand, I would love to meet Rand. As a matter of fact, someday I want to go visit Muskie and then have the two of us go visit Rand or meet somewhere together, because I think he'd be a fun guy to sit and talk to. I think he's got a big heart. I just don't think he engages his brain as much as he should. And I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm just saying he doesn't engage his brain as much as he should.
Oh, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah, he loves being the controversial character. He loves saying the out there kind of things. And I understand that too, because that can be very provoking and actually make people think. But Rand goes to places that you shouldn't go with that. That one hangout he did on Thickie's site, you know, with him, Thickie, and Sabella, where it's just basically a homophobic rant all the way through. And I know Rand thinks that's funny. It isn't. And if he's listening to this, or anybody knows him listening to this, Rand, that really isn't funny. And for a long time, I refused to talk to Rand because he made me mad. But I will tell him right now, I would be more than happy to talk to him. Because guess what? I've grown up in the last year. Surprisingly, it still happens at my age. For those of you who don't know, I've been 64 for almost a week now.
Wow.
I know, but you grow up at every age, and so for those of you who are like in your 40s or 50s and you think you'll never do it, you won't. You'll never grow up, and that's actually a very good thing. But
Yeah,
you'll
okay.
get better. Yeah, to quote the old LGBT videos, it gets better. Honest, it really. But I actually like Rand. I've known a lot of guys like him. They're very rough-edged, and in many ways he makes me laugh. But he goes to places, as I said, he shouldn't go to, and he thinks he's funny, and it just really isn't Rand. And that's all I'd like to tell him, that you need to stop that.
Well, the thing is that again, as I said before, Jade, the problem is that maybe where he grew up, there was a lot of tacit homophobia.
Right. Yeah.
And as I said before, where I grew up, the word "gay" was used as a derogatory term. You're so gay. Oh, what are you being so gay for? Or they use more derogatory terms, which I won't use here.
Right.
But you mentioned the Q word that ends in R, the 5-letter word, which I won't repeat. And even worse words, which I won't even tell you about, like, for example, shitlifter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And the thing is that was tacit. So, like, for example, this was as kids, being gay was a negative thing.
Right.
And the thing is that the fact is that I can't say that I didn't use it myself. I did. And I wouldn't use it now in the same way that when I was a kid, my grandmother and my dad would both use the word, I'm going to spell it phonetically, I'm not going to say it, P-A-K-I.
Oh, yeah.
right? It refers to people of Asian descent, of Middle Eastern descent, around India, Pakistan, Asia, people from like Yemen, places like that. We use the PAKY as a racial derogatory term to refer to that person. So they would use that shop. Now I use that term myself, but I don't use it anymore. And I think the same thing is with Ran, is that if you go up from that sort of upbringing, or where that sort of language is sort of like ingrained into you, you got to start repeating it, even if you did it in the way that it's usually meant.
But you can grow up and grow out of it
Yeah,
if you want to.
But the thing is
But
that
if you carry on surrounding yourself with those types of bigots, then you probably won't.
yeah, but you have to want to grow up of it. The thing is
Oh
that
yes, I said if you want to.
yeah, but exactly like to me. And the thing is that I don't think a lot of gay people would get upset on what Brad said. They just see him as like a harmless teddy bear. Again, I don't want to speak for gay people. But I don't think necessarily they think. Again, I'll talk to Jade as she's the only homosexual in the room. Are you offended by when Brad says stuff like uses homophobic insults?
You there, Jade?
Jade?
Oh, maybe she's not there at the moment. Yeah.
Sorry, I finally got. Oops. Oh, you can hear me. Okay. I finally got that call I was waiting for.
Oh.
Yeah, I am here, but I had to mute myself, and I forgot to unmute myself. So what you were saying? Oh yeah, I know he's very homophobic. In his words, he probably isn't as homophobic in his actions. If you're talking about Rand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to send him a message on Skype and tell him that I would like to talk to him. Because I have grown up, and I think that, I have a temper. And Gary, knows what this is like, because I have a real temper too. And I lose it pretty easily. And it's one of those things you fight all your life, and you just have to learn to deal with. But yeah, he I just don't think he's as bad as he comes out to be. And I have not talked to him personally. I've had a lot of other people talk to him personally, and they say he just really isn't. He just thinks he's being funny, and this is the language he used growing up. It's just not appropriate anymore, and it really makes people think ill of him, and that concerns me as well, because he's not getting his message across when he uses that kind of language. And I'm really, 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 if you're listening around or anybody knows you're listening, I'm really, really pissed off at the way you've treated Nadia. Because I know you've said things about me, and that's cool. Because I know you know me, and we've had conversations, and I kind of know where that's coming from. But I would be more than happy to talk to Rand and explain that sexuality isn't binary. Gender isn't binary. Everybody would love it to be because it makes life simple. It just doesn't work that way. And you gotta stop insulting people. That's just all I could say.
And I would say to Galaxy, if she watches this, I would avoid people who aren't open to questions and just want to preach their dogmatic personal beliefs upon you. If you want questions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the thing is that this was supposed to be for Galaxydreams, pulling the topic back into the role. It seems we wandered far from it. I think it's because the young lady herself isn't here, and she really should be. But unfortunately, I'm blessed with predestination as one of my abilities, so I didn't know that she was not. She just come out for herself on a trip, and I could understand not wanting to do anything YouTube related. But what I will do is I'll leave this up. So if people want to watch it, they can do. But I will try and get Galaxydreams on a hangout of mine soonish. Even if it's in a Bible hangout that I'm going to do. I'm probably going to do one. The first one I'm going to do, I'm going to pencil in probably Tuesdays. I don't know, maybe Wednesdays. I don't know. Yeah, probably Wednesdays. Or maybe actually Mondays will probably be good. Actually, yeah, Mondays. Yeah, Mondays. If we could do it when Mummageddon is out, then I can get it done.
Mhm.
I know people say, Gary's afraid of his mum. Yes, I'm afraid of my mum. You live with her for 32 years and you'll be afraid of her as well. Yeah, she makes Jade look like she's a member of the Care Bears. Because she's very
Yeah. Oh no, we've got Cousin Troll in here. We're doomed. Hi, Troll.
So Jade, would the be okay for you?
Yeah, it would be fine as long as I have warning. I'm retired, so I'm here all the time, but I've been doing a lot of yard work. I've got tons of stuff to do. So as long as I have warning, I can make sure I'm here available at the time you want to do the hangout. That's fine with me.
Epicurus and his, if anyone knows him personally or has his Skype, let him know that I'm thinking about doing it. Not maybe this Monday, but maybe a week on Monday.
Yeah. Well, you might want to talk to IG too, or send him a message. See if he.
Yeah. I'm going to send Christian a message. Yeah. And
Lasoyo and Rational Roundtable. I don't know if they can make it, but it's worth a try.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice for Galaxydreams to realize that. See, a lot of the more, and I do hate this term, and I know they do too, but it's the only term we've got that really works. The more moderate Christians on YouTube don't involve themselves a lot with the controversy. They don't involve themselves. They're still part of the community, but they don't involve themselves a lot with the controversy. So a lot of people don't see those voices. A lot of times, Gary's the only one out there, and so that our Gary, the good Gary, the one right here, and so a lot of people don't realize that there are more flavors to Christianity and more flavors to theism, and I think that
is that you saw the hangout I was in last night, didn't you?
Oh God, you were just they were being complete idiots to you, and as I said, I would really almost love to do a hangout where we took every Bible. What they were doing, folks, is gish galloping through the Bible. And basically you take one verse here, one verse there, one verse here, one verse there, and you tie them all together out of context. And I would almost love to take every verse that they used and go through them in context. I actually put in the chat the one verse from Matthew, was it, in the complete context. And when you read the whole thing, you realize it's not what they're saying it is. And there was another verse they used that it referred to the Pharisees only. It was very specific. And, you really, you can do this, but it doesn't make your position look very good when you're grabbing bits and pieces from here and there, and you're trying to form them in some sort of a golem creature that supports your point of view. Golem smash all opponents. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to look at the Bible at all, and no one says you have to, but you have to look at it in context. And as Gary pointed out, you also have to look at it cross-referencing. You can't just grab, verses from here, there, and everywhere. And one of the things, if you look at some of, especially last year when they were attacking Gary like mad, and I know I'm using the they. When you looked at, I started writing down all the passages they were using, and they tended to prefer the Old Testament, Paul, and Revelations, and forget about what Jesus actually said. Isn't that the whole point of Christianity, what Jesus said? But that didn't fit into their little plan, their little way of looking at the world, so they grabbed the stuff that did fit, and then again, grab a verse out of context. So, yeah, they treated you like crap as usual. Well, I've got to give Gary a lot of credit for standing up to them and for showing the YouTube community that there is more to Christianity than the strict fundamentalist point of view. And let me make it very clear, I'm quite fond of a number of what I consider the fundamentalists out there, including Raw and Bible Thumping Wingnut. And I know a lot of people say bad things about them, but I will support them no matter what. Matthew 4:19, on the other hand, I want to send to bed without his supper.
Well, again, if you watch the hangout from last night, it was very intriguing, as I said, because I didn't go in there with the topic you mentioned. It's just that he might have appeared, and I brought up the fact that he threatened to drop DDK. And then Ronnie appeared, and apparently it's arrogant to tell somebody they're wrong about something they're wrong about, namely biology. And then, what else was it? Then they decided to go into the Gish Gallop of the Bible.
Yeah.
I was trying to say, well, just hang on a sec, let me look up these passages, and then they'll go to another passage. It's just like, well, hang on a sec, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, but they won't slow down enough to do it. And by the way, let me make it clear: Matthew 4:19 and Bible thumping were not in this hangout. I didn't mean to assume they were. Yeah, that doesn't do any good. If you're going to have a discussion, and just my clue to them, although they're probably not going to take anything from me, if you're going to criticize, take some time. Don't just spout out verse after verse after verse after verse. Take some time and go into each verse in context, and then tie them together. If you're Christians, that's what you're supposed to be going by mostly.
Well, if you want to go even more academic than that, yeah. If you really wanted to go proper academic, to use a bird's terminology, what you should be doing is see why a certain reading existed in the first place. Like, did it exist in earlier writings? Is the reason that it may have survived? You know, is the reason that it would have survived? You know, let's see. And it would, you know, reasons like that. Again, it's like that. Anyway, I'm going to close this because again, if Galaxydream isn't going to catch up because she's tired, that's fair enough. But I will say this: if Galaxydream wants to get in touch with me, I'm always available. If anyone wants to, again, are you gonna mirror the hangout that happened before with old Matthew Bell?
No, I'm not. I just wanted to cut out that part where I'm talking to Galaxydreams. Although I may not care because I thought I did pretty good, frankly.
Yeah, I thought you did.
And I was trying to, and I may just cut that out and send it to her anyway, because I would like to talk to her personally, but I just wanted to cut that piece out because I was trying to bring it back on topic, and then Matthew Bell just kind of, you know, tore the whole thing apart.
Well, if you want to mirror the whole thing, Jay, you got my permission.
No, I don't think it's necessary because all that's going to happen is people are going to see Matthew Bell do the things he usually does, and I think Matthew Bell's a smart guy. I mean, I don't hate him or anything like that, but he's so freaking arrogant that it makes it difficult to have a conversation with him, especially me. And as I said, I'm the wussy Californian. You know, I grew up through the 60s, and I went through a period where, you know, all my friends were exploring different sorts of philosophical, social, psychological, religious, different beliefs, and I learned to, even though I thought some of them were far beyond, you know, somewhere way out beyond that second star to the right, to respect them as human beings. I've known rational adults just a few years ago who in every other way were just rational, logical human beings. They held on jobs, they had kids, wonderful people, but they believed in crystals. And one of the things you learn is, okay, that's fine. Believe in crystals. I don't care. I'm not going to criticize it as long as the rest of your life's in order. Fine, go for it. You know, I'd have people tell me, you know, I'd be in this conversation and people go, well, you use the red crystal for this, and then you have the yellow crystals, and then the blue crystals. And I'm just going, cool. You're happy? No problem. So I'm kind of used to this easygoing Californian kind of thing where you just accept people. I know we're just sort of, you know, a lot of people think we're wussy. I don't think we're wussy. I think we're polite. But you know, whatever. I don't care. And again, that's part of being a Californian. Whatever. I don't care. So you know, when you've got someone like Matthew Bell, he's very difficult for me to talk to, and I should probably, to some extent, in this case, also apologize to Matthew Bell because I was very tired and hot and in pain. And I could have handled that better, and I'd like to apologize to everyone because I could have handled that better. And I would actually like to have try to have someday in the future a calm or at least as calm as possible, conversation with Matthew Bell. I do think he's a smart guy. I don't agree with him, and I think he's arrogant as fuck. But I do think he's a smart guy, and I think he has some good points, but I think they get buried in his arrogance. Anyway, that's about all I want to say. Again, I want to apologize to everyone for not really thinking before, and I could have handled that better. I'm old enough and experienced enough, and I'm an old political activist. I've dealt with people. I've dealt, in the 70s, I dealt with viciously anti-gay people and anti-feminist people. So you'd think I'd be better at this, but my temper gets in the way. So I'd like to apologize for that as well. And one last time, Shake, I'm sorry. I really did not handle you well either. I apologize. So that's about it.
Well, in fairness, you weren't the only one frustrated with Matthew Bell.
Well, yeah, I know, but I could have.
At least 4 people.
I've been there before, D, and I just blew it. It's just that I've been there before many times, and I blew it. I really did, and that's on me. Just and it's a learning experience.
Well, to be honest with you, Jade, I mean, like about 4 people told me to kick him, including Theaters would tell me to kick him, and a couple of people in the actual Hangout would tell me to kick him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't like to kick people just because of the people's politics.
Like I said, if we were having a debate in general, or whether it was a theological one or just a general chit chat, I wouldn't have been bothered. It's like where he can, but it's kind of like he just constantly kept derailing from the point we were trying. Well, not that we were making a point as such, but he just kept derailing from what this whole thing was supposed to be about. And then he was just being like, "Well, this is a complete waste of time." And it's like, well, then leave if you don't. If you think it's a waste of time, nobody's forcing you to be here. It was just so. And I don't know if it's his fault or not, but his tone of voice just gets the hackles up, doesn't it? Even if he was wishing you a happy birthday, if he spoke to you in that tone of voice, you'd be like, "What do you mean by that?" Do you know what I mean? It's just his voice just sounds so dismissive, isn't it? And arrogant, like Jade was saying. It's just so dismissive and arrogant, his voice. Maybe that's not his fault. Maybe that's his actual normal, natural voice. I don't know. Anywho, we're definitely off topic now, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of like going to drag this to the end because there's some videos I will watch online.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I am being tired as well because I didn't really get much sleep last night. And I was up early this morning.
Can I say one thing, Gary?
Yeah.
Nadia has been quiet since she's come in. So I think we should ask Nadia if she wants to say anything at all.
Yeah.
And, give her like 5-10 minutes, and Nadia, you can say anything you want. And I would give the same courtesy to Cousin Troll, except, hell, he can interject anytime he wants because he's like that. But, so Nadia, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, uninterrupted.
Right, uninterrupted. I'm going to mute myself.
Silence, who said you can talk?
Well, I guess I don't have any idea what Galaxydream is going through, but well, she does need some kind of, I guess, moral support from the atheist community. Well, add mine to the mix. I think I have hot chili of eternal damnation for dinner soon, and furthermore, Rand Campbell has, I guess, contacted me privately asking for some kind of, I don't know, one-on-one meeting to work out his issues, but I am going to have some kind of serious difficulties in very short order here, so that will disrupt my online participation. So it's not clear that that'll actually happen. I do find, well, I don't have a whole lot of sense of humor about Rancam's bigotry or whatever, but on the other hand, I'm also pretty thick-skinned, so pretty much what it adds up to is, well, my negatively evaluating him, as opposed to being wounded somehow.
Yeah, I know what you mean there.
Yeah. And I'd be a little bit careful with Matthew Bell. People have known his history, have an idea of what happens when he tries to exercise independent thought, to devise his own arguments as opposed to citing others or repeating others. And he doesn't seem to be quite as skilled at that sort of improvisation as he is, well, citing, William Lloyd Craig or Plantinga or similar. So, I believe J.D. Keynes interacted with him for several years and knows quite a bit more about his earlier attempts before latching on to more authoritative sources.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, might as well put the chili in the microwave. That's what I had.
Okay.
So,
Thank
Cousin Troll, do you want to say anything?
He's
He
gone.
left! He left! You ratter. I'll give him hell for that later.
So, yeah. What I'll do is that if you guys want to stay in the Hangout, you can do, but I will end the broadcast in a minute. I'm sorry for what happened in the previous Hangout. I really am. I should have kept a tighter grip, but what I try and do is that I try not to moderate too much, because I think free-flowing conversation usually is better than orchestrated one. But when somebody starts acting like a prick and starts dictating to other people what they think, I just, especially interrupting people from a thought they're having, especially when you were asking me a specific point, Jade. Even if you had a problem with it, you should have said to me, "I don't think you should do that." Then we could go over why. But
well, Gary, you're a nice guy, and I agree with you. I think it's best to
just fade away.
Yeah, I think we all kind of foolishly thought that we could kind of rein Matthew Bell in or get him into the conversation, and I think we know now that that's just about impossible. I did find it vastly amusing, and one of the reasons I think we should keep the Hangout, even if just keep it on private, don't delete it, just keep it on private, is because I found it vastly amusing that he kept accusing us of doing the things that he was doing. And this is again where the arrogance comes in. I agree. I think he's a smart guy, and I think if we could get past that arrogance, and I know, if Galaxydreams wants to talk to someone, she needs to talk to me because I know everything. That kind of thing. If you could get past that, I think he'd be a really interesting guy to talk to. But I think that's so much of his personality. I don't know if it's possible.
I don't know how true it is because I've not interacted with him that much, but I'm led to believe he was actually fairly well behaved tonight. So. That is hearsay, I hasten to add. I'm not saying that is the case, but that's what I heard.
Well, I would like to say in his defense that, such as it is, given what I've already said, a lot of the hangouts he's in do center around theological issues. So, he does talk about that, and I also have to admit that he's quite right in some of the things he says about the fundamentalists, and his frustration, I think, that they don't seem to want to look beyond their limited fundamentalism. He doesn't handle it well. By the way, being very clear, I don't handle things well either, as I've shown in the previous Hangout. With Shake and even with Matthew Bell. So we're not perfect. I just try not to do the same thing again, and I hope that my friends will, as has happened in the past, send me a Skype message and say, "Jade, you're doing it again," or something like that, and I will learn from that, because life is a constant learning process, and with me, it's controlling my temper and controlling my temptation to talk for freaking ever, like I'm doing right now.
It's trying to. That's what we like about you.
And I just because I can't shut the fuck up, you know that. And the last thing I'd like to say is I really do appreciate the friends that I have on YouTube, because they are honest with me, and they like me no matter, even though I'm as imperfect as I am. And I like them as imperfect as they are. And believe me, some of them are quite imperfect. Not anybody here, of course.
Anyway, everyone, I'm going to end it now. So, Galaxydreams, if you do see this, please get in touch with any of us, and we're willing to talk to you. Even if you want us to do another hangout, if one of us is online, we'll do it with you.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I'd like to. I think everybody here I know would be more than happy to talk to Galaxydreams, and everyone here that I know. I don't know Nadia that much because I haven't talked to her that much, but I've seen her in a lot of hangouts. But I think I could say with some confidence that everybody here is a really good person to talk to, and would be willing to talk to you and answer any questions you have, and try to help you in any way they could. Because you got some really good people out here in YouTube, even though things get really nasty sometimes. It's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, if you can overlook the egos and the tempers, it's all good.
Anyway, I'm calling it. Hopefully,
Okay.
get the whole Bible study thing done, but I'm calling it for myself because I'm absolutely knackered. So anyway, see you guys later.
Night,